being nimble and then being able to say like this didn't or did work for me and being able to pivot, I think is a huge opportunity that big brands should start to lean into, or muscle they should flex. But ultimately they have to, like I said, lower the guardrails, try go 1 foot in, just look at the AI.
Yeah.
Go 1 foot in and then understand what's happening and then take a step back if you have to.
Yeah. Welcome back to Seriously Social. Today we're taking a trip down memory lane, okay?
I'm excited.
I love memory.
The reason for this is, if you really think about it, the pendulum of time swings back and forth. And what I mean by that is what trends in the 70s comes back and trends again in the 2020s. So if you think about like bell bottoms, they're making a comeback.
I can't speak on the fashion, but I know what you're talking about.
But the same thing goes for social media, and I think it's so important to kind of learn some lessons and just take a look at like where it all started, where we're at. So I actually made a list of all the social media platforms that have ever existed. I'd love to just kind of walk through them. Let's kind of take a look at the timeline, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts about them as we go. So, did you know the first real social media network, I didn't know this, is 6 Degrees, which was in...
6 Degrees?
Yeah, it was conceived in 1997.
I don't know because I was 6.
True, I was... How old was I? 4.
So what did it do?
So 6 Degrees let users create profiles, list friends, connect. It was made by Andrew Weinreich, and it shut down in 2001, but it proved the concept of online social working.
That's crazy.
So who even knew? I mean, I really thought the first one I ever knew about was MySpace.
Yeah.
So 6 Degrees. So there's a thing there, because isn't there like 6 degrees of connection or something?
Yeah. So that's probably why they called it that. Yeah, so it's just like we're all connected somehow.
Okay.
Then in 1999, there was LiveJournal, which is kind of exactly what it sounds like. It was like a blogging and community hybrid. So kind of like...
early for me, first off.
Yeah, like...
Was it live? You go live or...
No, it was focused on like personal diaries and niche interests. So it was kind of like Tumblr, maybe like a beginning Tumblr, beginning Reddit, like combined.
Okay.
So there was a lot of just people expressing whatever they wanted to talk about in their niche, and then people kind of connecting over that. Then we had Friendster. Okay, so I have heard of Friendster. That was in 2002. Users could create profiles and connect with each other, and it kind of popularized social circles.
I remember.
And like bubbles and within, you know.
I think I did create a Friendster, but pretty sure I'm navigating to the next one that you're going to mention.
Yeah, okay, so then MySpace came 1 year later, and they were in competition for a long time.
Yeah, MySpace crushed them.
Did you have a MySpace?
Yeah.
Did you have a MySpace?
Oh, yeah. I have my top friends, music on my profile.
Customized.
Yeah, customized theme.
Web dev.
Yeah. It's crazy how many people knew how to kind of like low-key code because of MySpace.
MySpace was the
introduction.
Literally.
I was not allowed to have a MySpace. I was still just a baby, so like I didn't have a MySpace. But then, right after MySpace came LinkedIn in the same year.
Okay. What?
Yeah, isn't that great? I didn't know that. Like, who knew? But LinkedIn started in 2003.
Wow.
So over 20 years ago.
It was only like job. Like,
It was completely a professional network, focused on careers, focused on networking to try to find a job. And it's still a lot of that, but it has definitely evolved much more into a social network. A lot more creator content on there.
Yeah.
A big content engine versus just a job board. Then came Facebook, the beast, still around, still relevant, still growing. That was in 2004, so exactly 21 years ago.
Wow.
And this was
I came across in 2006.
So yeah. So I remember I was in... I'm not going to reveal my... I guess I was in 9th grade, and back then, obviously it was for colleges at first, and then it rolled out to high school, and everyone was like, are you on Facebook? And I was like, dude, send me an invite. I need an invite, because you needed an invite.
Yeah, it was invite only to start.
And so 2006, 9th grade, I think that's when I got into Facebook.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen the movie, was it The Social Network?
The Social Network.
Yeah, such a good movie. It all started at Harvard, and it really was just a directory of Harvard when it first started. It was like a way for them to connect with each other, and then, colleges to colleges, invitation only, and now look at where it is now. So huge. From there came YouTube. So YouTube was in 2005, and YouTube was the first really big video hub, right? And now everything is video.
That's right.
But so YouTube really defined video
culture. The second largest social network right now.
That's crazy to think about.
Bigger than Instagram, is bigger than TikTok. It's just right under Facebook. I think TikTok is third now, and Instagram is actually 4.
That's
Oddly
wild.
enough, yeah.
That's wild. What's wild that TikTok is like already number 3.
Yeah, I know.
So okay, so YouTube's about 20 years old. Then came Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Twitter's like the
Twitter.
exact opposite, right? So we had YouTube, which was like very video heavy, and then we had Twitter, which was like real time, quick communication. You were only given 140
Yeah,
characters.
Twitter was a wild west.
Yeah.
140 characters. I remember that.
You know, like trying to fit it all, just subtweeting at your ex, like it's just like you're putting it all.
Culture.
Yeah,
It was a thing.
putting it all in like the smallest phrase you can.
Yeah.
Then Tumblr. So Tumblr was
love
2007, and Tumblr I think was really one of the first hybrids of all of the above. So
Tumblr.
I had
I
a
did.
Tumblr.
I think Tumblr actually is one of the first platforms going back to 6 degrees. You know, sometimes you do things that are evolutionary, but a little bit before their time. Revolutionary. And evolutionary.
Yeah, it would be a little bit of both.
Because it evolved over time. But I think Tumblr was one of those that is actually very similar to the interest graph that we live in nowadays. Because if you did have a Tumblr, I had a Tumblr, it still probably exists. But when you looked up things, everything that you would see on your feed was based off of the things you would look up, not social, not friends.
The original FYP.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was a little bit before its time, but Tumblr was my first exposure to something very similar to how social media works today.
Absolutely. I think Tumblr is also one of the, I say one of the first, at least my experience with memes. Like it was huge. Like that's like the first time I saw memes kind of just take over. And then
very visual,
and then like fandoms, right? Like I think YouTube a little bit, but it was very niche and there was some meme culture involved, but that was kind of the first time that memes were being like populated and then spread.
That's right.
So, okay. Then we have Snapchat. That's 2011.
Okay.
No, wait. No. First we had Instagram. 2010.
Yeah. Instagram came before.
Yeah, so Instagram, we all know, started really just as photos, right? It was just a place you could only share one photo. It wasn't a carousel, it wasn't a video. Just one photo with a caption. It was very, like, FOMO driven. Like, you're posting about you having just, like, the best time or what you were eating or where you were. And from my experience, it was a lot more in real time than it is now. Like, now it feels like I highlight photo dump from my vacation, but it would be like, this is what I'm eating right now.
That's right. Yeah.
This is the sunset right now. You know, it'd be like just whatever is happening in your day-to-day life.
I think when the shift from just like post whatever you're doing to just like, hey, Instagram is for high quality, aesthetically pleasing, very great resolution pictures, and then evolved to videos. But I think that's when it started to shift from, hey, let me just post on this to it has to be a lot more curated.
Absolutely. 100%. And there's a lot more storytelling trying to happen, even down to the individual brands aside. It's like trying to tell some sort of story about what's going on in your life or what you're experiencing versus just, here's what I see. Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so then from Instagram, then we had Pinterest. So Pinterest, I think, was one of the first spaces like itself. A little bit revolutionary, right?
Yeah,
so it
I
was...
agree.
Yeah.
It was.
Because it was like, nothing like that exists.
Right. Just basically a digital inspo board, which it still has maintained a lot of its original purpose. I think a lot of these platforms that we're talking about have kind of shifted as to like what they really are about from LinkedIn to Instagram. But I think Pinterest has always been exactly what it is.
Yeah, and it started off, if I'm not mistaken, gearing towards women. And then I think they grew a big women audience, and then everyone thought that Pinterest was only for women.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case.
Well, it was
I don't know
very...
what the statistics are today. Maybe someone can look them up. But I think it's probably split equal, right?
It's pretty...
I think you're right. I mean, yeah, you're right. Because when it started, it was very aesthetically pleasing, very aspirational, very inspirational. It was all about building a mood board around something, which a lot of times had to do with your home, right? Like DIY or how you want your living room to look.
That's why I leaned towards, I think, women early on, is because it was for like inspo and research or like getting ideas or figuring out different ways to do things through a visual manner. And I think that's why it appealed to women initially.
Well, actually, what you're talking about, I think it was even less so how to and more just, oh, this is really visually inspiring and appealing. And now it has transitioned more to, oh, I can actually learn stuff from here.
70-30 still. So 70% women, 30%.
When's the last time you got on Pinterest?
I don't even have a Pinterest. That's one of the few.
For me, it was yesterday. So that answers that.
I don't have, Mom. I am in it a lot because I like to do the research and understand it, but it's one of the ones where I didn't create a profile for myself.
Right. Yeah. So, so it makes sense. Neither of you really use it actively. I use it pretty much every day.
Exactly.
All right.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So then Snapchat. Then
Yes.
Snapchat came in 2011.
Wild when it
And
came
this, again, was also kind of a revolutionary thing. It was disappearing messages, right? You would
Yeah.
send something. It only lasted until the person clicked it. Then it was gone forever. You could never see it again. This is also, I believe, the first platform to have stories, right? These 24-hour,
That's right.
here's what's going on in my life. It expires in 24 hours. Again, you can never see it again.
Yeah.
And then-
Snapchat's ad platform, low-key, is really good.
It is.
Because
She's
CPMs
really
are
good.
low. Huh?
Do you know what that is? You're not chronically online.
No.
Okay, well, it's just a meme. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I mean, Snapchat ads are really undervalued, right?
Yeah.
The attention's there.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people are running ads on it. So
I agree.
low CPMs, all across a good buy.
We have experience with it. We used to run ads for a clinical trial company that would help find patients for clinical trials, and ultimately but this was way back in 2000, maybe 14, 15, so early.
So pretty
on.
early, yeah.
And I think it's now, the platform itself has changed to be better than ever. The algorithms are better. AI has been integrated into all of the social networks. But one of the things that has stuck, to Keith's point, is still the cost on it. For whatever reason, not enough advertisers have gravitated towards it, to where if you're still really good creative, natural to the spotlight feature, that they can perform well, and not just for awareness. It can drive bottom line revenue and
100%
ROI.
conversion.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. If you really, really think about it, like the way that it started and where it has gotten to, that's crazy.
It's wild.
Awesome. So, okay. So we had Instagram, we had Pinterest, then we had Snapchat, then we had Vine.
Oh my God.
Were you on Vine?
R.I.P.
Did you have Vine?
Yeah, that was one of my
I
favorite
loved
platforms.
Vine.
Yeah, I mean,
I really thought I was going to make my big break on Vine.
no.
Yeah, I used to post like daily.
Okay.
It was 6 seconds, right?
Yeah.
It started as 6-second videos. I think
lot
it
of people
eventually
did
went
make
up
their
to
break on Vine.
15 seconds. Yeah, like David Dobrik. I remember he was,
Dobrik,
I
yeah.
used to follow him, and then blew up, has his own pizza shop now. Like, really, he took off. But yeah, that for me was the birthplace of short form video content.
It was.
And so we went from Vine to Instagram having Reels,
Mhm.
TikTok, all that. So it's crazy what I know there were a lot of people that really didn't believe that Vine would do well and that 6-second videos would mean anything, but it's crazy because our attention span really can be that short. And so it actually did really work. I do miss Vine, so RIP.
I miss Vine too. It was one of my favorite platforms. That was one of the ones where I did have a profile. I wasn't somebody who was really active on it, but I loved to engage in the content. I think that's when some of the styles of what people wanted to see on social media truly started to change. It was just a different way to experience social media.
100%.
So
Yeah, and a different way to express yourself. So it was like interesting all around.
Yeah. It was kind of like so we talked about Twitter and we talked about YouTube, and it was kind of like those two things combined. It was like YouTube in 140 characters, so like make it quick.
So is Elon bringing Vine back or what? He said he was.
Did he?
He said that they were able to recover the archive of the Vine databases, and so he was going to incorporate or integrate it into Grok, his AI company, and they were going to be able to pull back and reference Vine pretty much videos that existed in their databases, but hasn't happened yet.
That's crazy.
All right. Okay, so then we have TikTok.
Yes.
Which natural transition from Vine to TikTok. That was in 2016, which is really not that long ago.
This decade.
Well, I mean, but like for it to be where it is now, that's not that long ago considering.
Is it 2018 when it became called TikTok? Because it was Musically before that, or was...
So the global launch was in 2018.
Okay.
It started as Musically in 2016. Yes, good point. And so it started out as just like really lip syncing, like music videos.
That's crazy.
And then where it is now, that's insane to think about.
Oh, yeah.
Because, not only is it a huge platform for organic content, but also for ads. Now they have an entire shop. We talked about going live. Yeah. I mean, just the
evolution.
The evolution of it is crazy.
Huge.
That one has been, pretty fascinating to watch, honestly.
Okay, then in 2020, we had 2 platforms come out, Clubhouse and Be Real.
Clubhouse.
Oh, I know we were all on Clubhouse because...
And then there's nothing else to do.
Yeah,
we hosted one AMA on Clubhouse, so I don't think we did more than that.
We had a little, pre-seriously social going on Clubhouse where we were low-key kind of podcasting. We would have guests on. It was fun. I don't really know where Clubhouse is anymore, but...
I think...
is it still alive? So
I think
people
it still exists, but I think it's a different use. Let's see.
No way it exists.
So Clubhouse, if you don't already know, is just audio, right? Basically, it was the audio era of platforms. And you could start, basically, you were like going live, but it was just your voice, and then you could bring in other people. I could add you to the call, basically, and people would just sit and listen. It was happening in live time.
Yeah.
It does still exist. It did peak during the COVID period, and it's kind of fallen off. But I think the reason it fell off is because what we've seen through the change of all of these social media platforms is, to your point, things coming and going.
Yeah.
But the other platforms that were well off when it came to awareness started to adapt these features. We've seen it with all of them.
Twitter,
Instagram, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think eventually, because certain people did build their brand and who they were off but I think it transitioned to the other platforms that are now relevant.
Yeah. Makes sense. So then, 2023, we had Threads.
Mm-hmm.
And
still alive.
I remember that the adoption of Threads was one of those things that everyone jumped on it immediately because they were like, this is going to be huge.
It was the fastest growing.
And then there was a dip. There was a dip for a while. And then what I understand is that
it's kind of dead now, right?
No, from what I understand, it has kind of taken over for specifically those folks who aren't really into Twitter anymore, who aren't into X. So like, there's a whole other side of people that want this sort of conversational platform where they're primarily text, but aren't necessarily into X, and so they're on Threads.
Brands aren't really taking advantage of Threads, though.
Honestly, I don't know. I'm not on Threads myself.
The only time I've seen brands, it's less now. I think when it first popped off, a lot of brands were trying to hop on it.
Right.
But the only place I really see them now is in the comment section. So that's still a tactic that I believe that a lot of big corporations aren't properly utilizing. Not just the community aspect piece, but how do you fuel, I think is the right word, fuel you just commenting on something and it driving impact and awareness. And I think some brands saw that happen on X. Other platforms, Threads, I still feel like there's one where brands are still trying to do a little bit of stuff.
Just doing some social listening, seeing if your brand is being talked about on Threads and then jumping into that conversation. Or even if your competitors are being talked about, could serve an opportunity.
That's right.
That makes sense. For a while, Twitter was a huge space for brands. Do you think that Twitter, that brands are still as active there? From what I've seen, specifically talking to clients, is like not as much, but
no, for sure it still is. A lot of brands still use Twitter X for a support system, like Delta. A bunch of airlines you can go to it. A lot of B2B companies use X. X is one of the platforms outside of LinkedIn where you can reach decision makers and B2B buyers. So yeah, absolutely.
News and politics,
right. So a lot of the same
platforms huge also.
So a lot of the same, like what Twitter originally was about and what people were gaining there, but maybe a little bit of a different strategy as to how they're using it.
I think they're using it the same, but in a different way.
Okay, that makes sense.
Same in a different way. But it's the same users. Actually, I believe it's an all-time usage high.
I think you're right.
And there's just more to do on X now, right? Like, you can interact with an AI. You can have longer posts. You can have 3-hour videos.
Spaces, like we talked about. So being able to chat. So
you can do more than what you could do just on Twitter.
It seems like all the platforms that we're talking about, most of the platforms that are still alive and thriving today have evolved in that way. They're offering more and more things because they want to keep people there, right? So, okay. Then we had Lemonade 2023, so just a couple of years ago, which was kind of like a Pinterest meets Instagram, but it was powered by ByteDance, so it's TikTok. So it's like all of these things in one. It was, or is, kind of lifestyle focused. It was photo heavy, and a lot of carousels from what I saw. So it'd be some sort of story being told in a carousel. And I know that it's still active, but I don't know. I haven't done the research on how active.
Usage, not worth it.
Yeah, I feel like it was another one of those.
Threads has 150 million weekly
Threads
users.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I feel like it was another one of those platforms that people jumped on really quickly when it came out because they were like, we can't be behind. And then there was kind of that dip of okay, well, I don't know if I really need to exist on this platform or what I'm going to get out of it. I still get a lot of ads for it on TikTok, which makes sense because of ByteDance.
12.5 million for Lemonade.
That's it? That's
pretty low. That's pretty low considering, All right, then we've talked about this before, but Blue Sky was also in the same year, which was just a decentralized Twitter alternative.
That's interesting.
Basically.
I think Blue Sky took advantage of the issues that Twitter was facing publicly with all of the Elon Musk stuff and what was happening with his takeover and the firings and how people were being treated, and then the integration of AI. So I think while brands are, careful, a lot of times really careful in what they're trying to do, or they try to be careful in what they're doing. So I think it was more weariness of just what was happening, trying to stay away from getting in trouble.
Yeah, offering a solution for those people that are worried about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's where Blue Sky won. But to Keith's point, Twitter is as thriving as it was ever. So I think brands started to naturally gravitate back. Some are still cautious, but I think a lot of brands have started to navigate back accordingly.
Yeah. I did miss one, which is in 2009, we had WhatsApp. Okay, so like...
I love WhatsApp.
Huge platform. A little bit different as far as what it offers as a social platform compared to some of the others, but just massive global. How many users on WhatsApp? You know that one up? Because I mean, because that's
I think it's
huge.
$1 billion. Yeah,
it's billion plus daily.
And I mean that does count. That is a social platform. So. Then, so we got all the way from, 6 Degrees to Blue Sky. And then now we have all these platforms, which are really just kind of like you were talking about, building upon what they already have. So we have had YouTube forever, but now we have YouTube Shorts, which is this whole other side to YouTube. And then same thing with TikTok. TikTok's been around, but now we have TikTok Shop. Again, just a whole other part of the platform that offers so much more to its users than it had before. So I think there's a lot we can learn from these platforms. The ones that didn't survive, lessons learned, what did we learn from that? And the ones that are surviving and evolving really well, kind of what can we take from that? So maybe let's kind of transition into lessons learned.
2.3 billion active users for WhatsApp. Wow. So
2.3 billion daily.
2.3 billion daily.
What was the one before that? Was like 12.5 million a month.
A month.
Yeah. So that kind of shows you the difference.
Yeah, so it's wild.
So what are some takeaways that you have kind of from...
I mean, I think, whenever the platforms die and move on, it's because something is missing, right? So what I mean by that is post MySpace, there was sort of a loss of identity, which came about the rise of stories and creators.
Right.
Or another example could be, post Vine, there was a loss of creativity. There's creative limitations, which came in the sense of TikTok and the rise of short form loops and different
Same thing with Twitter. It was just 140 characters. That was it. And then it's evolved to like longer form. Now there's now I can post pictures and videos. So
essentially these platforms will die and rise based on the people's needs.
Yeah, makes sense.
At the end of the day.
I agree.
So let's talk about it from a brand perspective and how you identify these things and like where you should spend your time, right? Because for example, let's say you're one of those brands that like jumped on Lemonade because you're like, this is going to be huge. It's the new biggest thing. Like when do you figure out, okay, maybe our resources aren't really needed here, and having a platform, having
audience and market research. If I was a CMO of a Fortune 500, obviously I'm not just going to go to a platform. One, talking to your peers, seeing what they're doing, looking at what competitors might be doing, and then doing deep audience research of the platform. Even if Lemonade only has 12.5 million monthly active users, it could still be your audience.
Right.
And you might want to activate on there depending on the research you do. So it boils down to the demographic. I mean, but when you're looking at like WhatsApp numbers of 2+ billion people, like you just got to be on it.
Right. You just have to exist. Yeah.
I think fear is the big thing, right? So to Keith's point, research is important. It's going to become a commodity in the sense of you can do the research and you can get the data very easily for most of these platforms, even the 12.5 million users.
Right.
But where I think brands are still fearful is the impact or the perception that people are going to have if they're to jump on this new platform based on what the general public believes it is. And I think they need to, honestly, going back to what we talked about on our last episode, which is you have to take advantage of when the opportunity exists today. Exactly. And when these new platforms are hyped, it may be short-lived. You may only be there for 2 months.
Yeah.
But you took advantage of it when everybody was talking about it, when there's an opportunity that something could happen, and then you learned, and then you figured out where it's. So to Keith's point, I love the research piece. It's super important, especially when you're investing money behind an initiative. But I think for some, they need to lower their guardrails just a little. Try it. Yeah. Just the worst that can happen is you say no, and I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah. Exactly. I think you're right about, like, even in that short amount of time, if you can have an impact, it was worth it.
It was worth it.
It was worth it. If you jumped in, you made some sort of impact, maybe you had one viral tweet, whatever it may be, it's like, that was worth it because you got those eyes. So yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, I think being nimble, and we talked about this in one of our episodes, and it's tough. I get it. Marketing is very calculated. There's big campaigns, a lot of dollars on the line. But being nimble and then being able to say, like, this didn't or did work for me, and being able to pivot, I think is a huge opportunity that big brands should start to lean into, or muscle they should flex. But ultimately, they have to, like I said, lower the guardrails. Go 1 foot in, just look at the AI.
Yeah.
Go 1 foot in and then understand what's happening and then take a step back if you have to.
Yeah. It's knowing when to take a step back also. We talked about this in a previous episode. I think it was like thumbs up, thumbs down, but we were like, okay, is it important to claim your name on a new platform when it comes out? Yes. Like, I do think you should, you know, get in there, make sure you get your handle.
Exactly.
Pay attention, check it out, see what it's about, make sure, you know, you're understanding what this new platform is in case it does blow up.
I put my name in the Ethereum domain names when those came out. So it was
so I mean, that's one of my things. The learning is like the digital real estate, right? Like MySpace was one of the first ones where you could create your own like real estate where people can come to your page, you own it, it's your personality. It's
branded to you.
Shifted to, we shifted to like the NFT space where Kosh was talking about he bought his own Ethereum domain. Right. Even on Telegram, you know, the username is not owned by Telegram. It's on the open network, which is what it's called. It's a blockchain that your name is on. So you could take your username with you. You can sell your username. You can do whatever you want with your Telegram username.
Right.
So the idea of digital real estate from the start of MySpace is another big learning, and I think that continued to happen. And what you guys were talking about is like, okay, you might not want to be on Lemonade right away, but go ahead and
claim your space.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
huge opportunity.
All right. Well, I think those are a lot of really good lessons. I have a few questions to kind of wrap us up that I had written down based on some of these learnings. So the first one is, why do you think people are craving more control over their online space? So we started with MySpace, and like, why do you think that people are kind of craving this control? And based on that, how should brands maybe shift in 2026 to take note of that?
I think when it comes to control, it's because a lot of those capabilities in other platforms have ceased to exist, going back to, you know, what we talked about with these different platforms emerging and dying off. That people are still craving it now, even in the world of AI, where you don't know if things are real or fake, and then there's just mass amounts of information that's coming out there. I think people want to grasp onto a little bit of the nostalgia of like, it's mine, or I have some kind of say in this, or I do think it changes maybe over time, but they want to have that personalization still. And I think that's why the niche and the control communities are something that we've seen growing as of late.
Yeah, everyone, if you're chronically online like me, I'll get a lot of TikToks that are like, a comment will be like, I built my FYP brick by brick. Like everything that I'm seeing is something I chose to see. So
that's what they believe.
Right.
In a world where you're losing control, people are seeking more control.
Yes, that's what's happening. That's so valid. And I think we talked a little bit about authenticity too, right? Like the more and more that things are produced, the more and more AI is involved, the more and more brands are trying to sell you something, the more people want control over what they're seeing, and they want it to feel real. They want it to feel relevant to themselves. They want to be able to relate to it. They want it to feel authentic.
I agree.
So getting to the second part of that question of how brands can shift to make sure they're taking note of that is through their entire content strategy from my point of view is how are you making sure that your content, your messaging, your content, the way that you're responding to comments feels real, feels authentic, feels relatable to that exact person that you're talking to. And one more thing I would add to that is feels personal, feels personalized. And there's so many ways you can do that. For example, if you comment, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful, I love it, and I respond with your name.
Exactly.
Easy identification, and suddenly that comment is personal to you. Thanks, Keith, for this comment, blah, blah. Another way is through personalized content, like putting out content, let's say for zodiac signs. Then like if I see it and I'm a Pisces and I say, oh, that content's for me, you know, like it feels very personalized. So yeah, these are just some small ways that brands can kind of
that.
address that shift. Okay, one more question,
Yep.
and we'll wrap it up. How do you keep that authenticity, but also have a well-planned content calendar? Because and reporting also. Like, you want to make sure that on the back end, there's strategy, that you're taking a look at everything, that you're ahead of the game. But then how do you still maintain that authenticity?
I think, one of the things that brands do is first they have those brand guidelines, right? I do think things have changed over time to where you want to be talking about what's trending, what's happening in pop culture, what's relevant now, and you have to plan for that. But there are still guardrails, going back to what I was talking about earlier, that you can put around, whether it's the brand, whether it's the types of content that you're going to be putting out, whether it's the topics around the content that you're putting out. And so for us, what we typically do with the brands is we start off when we think about the content strategy, they're pillars, right? We do know that we want to be relevant to what's happening now, but it has to have some sort of structure behind it.
Yeah.
So we think about how we're going to sound, how we're going to look, how we're going to feel, how we're going to engage. And then we also set those parameters around, hey, these are our buckets, or what we call our content pillars of what we're going to talk about.
Right.
Then you can be creative and have the freedom to pretty much be try different things within those pillars, be experimental.
And that allows you to be authentic.
And that's exactly right. Yeah.
I think a big way is through creators, influencers, your own staff, real people, right? Like, people want to see people. Right. We see less and less of it with all the things that we've already talked about, AI, overproduction, whatever. We see models, we see actors. We want to see real people, right? Yeah. And so when you can, and when it makes sense to involve UGC creators, to involve influencers that resemble your actual target audience, then you're winning, right? Because you're putting 100%. Me in front of me, and I say, oh, I can relate to that. So I think that's another big way.
Oh, that is huge.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, I think that was really fun. I really enjoyed going down memory lane. I can't wait to go.
1996.
Yeah, I'm gonna go stalk both of your Facebooks and Instagrams and see the earliest posts. Yeah. But yeah, this is a good one. If you have any platforms that we haven't mentioned, I think I tried to get them all, but if there's any ones that we're missing, because I know you mentioned like Telegram and so on.
Or tell us your favorite or your first one, or we just need the comments.
Yeah. Yeah, let us know. What of these, was there any platform that we missed? And if not, which one's your favorite or one that you miss? I want to know. So yeah, let us know. And
make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Seriously Social out.